This is the Analysis in Change with Nathan Williams and Neil Kieran.
Welcome to Analysis in Chains. I'm sitting here with Dr. Mervyn Maistry, the founder and CEO of Confidio. We've tried to get together to record a podcast a few times now, and it's nice that we've finally made our schedules line up. Mervyn is the former COO of Deutsche Bank, who got in, is that correct? Yeah, COO of Deutsche Bank, got into blockchain a few years ago, and is now working on a multifaceted company called Confidio that does investment into crypto projects, that has an accelerator, and that specifically built up a platform for managing enterprise needs in the blockchain space, and with the most notable one being managing a large contract for a pharmaceutical company. Mervyn, thank you for joining me.
Hi Nathan, it's a pleasure.
How close did I get that description?
I think fairly close, but it requires a little bit of perhaps some context. I started Confidio in 2016, and the idea then was how exactly can we use this fantastic new technology called blockchain to not just for commercial gain, but also as a way of actually changing the world. And that sounds like a very large, very type visionary thing, but actually I don't think it is. I think we change the world every day. I think most of the decisions that we make change the world every day. And what we wanted to do was, how do we consciously use a technology like this to make a positive impact? As we started discussing before you switched on your microphone, I think one of the key things is the concept of sustainable capitalism. And I think that's a key thing that runs through what we're doing. We don't want a welfare type of situation where one of the criticisms that people have of what they view as socialist economies, if you like. So we need something that is sustainable and profitable. At the same time, we don't need the current form of vulture capitalism that we have.
What do you mean by vulture capitalism?
I mean, vulture capitalism for me is capitalism that is really quite extractive, where you try and squeeze most of the blood out of the stone, and then pass it on to your shareholders. And this type of capitalism, I think, is basically, it's Purdue Pharmaceuticals, the guys who made this opioid crisis, the Sackler family.
But how do you avoid that sort of thing, right? Because this vulture capitalism isn't that just a product of the single factor incentive model of everyone being motivated by profit?
No, I think it's being motivated by profit and being motivated by greed are two different things. The Sackler family, for example, this multi-billionaire family. I mean, they specifically made billions out of causing people to die. And they were celebrated. They've got wings in museums named after them. And what's happened? We've got a society, we've got media, and we've got politicians. They've created this permissive legislative environment where you allow things like this to happen.
I mean, I'm totally on board with you, Mervyn. I guess my question is, how do you see blockchain as being able to contribute to the solution?
So I think what blockchain does is it allows a completely transparent view of whatever industry you're in. Which means that all the transactions that take place are transparent between those people participating in those transactions. The actual record of the transactions, or what happens on the blockchain, is immutable.
Mm-hmm.
So even if someone does hack a blockchain, that entire audit trail of that hack is available to see. Yeah. And that level of transparency does not exist in the current commercial world. In fact, it's not a mistake that it does not exist. Politicians have allowed laws to be passed to hide that.
Regulatory capture.
Yeah, it's regulatory capture, exactly. And what happens is that by the time consumers realize that a cartel has made billions, the authorities fine them millions. So actually, crony capitalism and vulture capitalism is extremely profitable because the transparency for consumers is quite simply not there.
This reminds me a lot of a conversation I had with a group of people in Africa that were discussing the potential of blockchain for African development. And I found it very interesting because the history of blockchain has been one of crypto-anarchism, trying to erode the power from the institutions that a few billionaires have gamed the system of in order to redistribute power to the masses. But in Africa, it's sort of the opposite, that you don't have these institutions and you end up having relationships being exploited and corruption there. And so it would be eroding the power of the relationships by bolstering the institutions. And so that it sounds sort of like that's what you're aiming for, is for the bolstering of transparency in this and helping the institutions to succeed so that you don't end up getting regulatory capture. Is that sort of?
Sort of. What the blockchain allows people to do, it allows individuals to transact with each other. It allows individuals to transact with each other and amongst each other without a central body governing it and without a central body taking rent from their transactions. And so what that means is that a large number of the centralized authorities that currently exist, all of the resources that flow into those centralized bodies, and all of those resources that these centralized bodies take out of the economy remains in the economy. Yeah. So firstly, I think what it does, it increases the amount of value remaining in an economy. Secondly, centralized authorities basically seek rent by the fact that they offer trust. Yeah. And when the blockchain technology actually injects trust into a system, so you don't need that external form of trust that you get with different centralized bodies. The third thing is that because you don't have centralized bodies, you don't have a centralized source of corruption. Yeah. And at the moment, if you look at what happened in 2008 with the financial crisis,
yeah.
If you look at the Feds bailing out people, bailing out their friends, essentially. If you look at the fact that the transparency around the assets were not there, most of the people who made billions and or millions in that process, not a single one of them has been accountable. It's now 2018, not a single one of them has been accountable. And the transparency of what 2019, the transparency of what happened in 2008 is still not clear.
Yeah, it's true. The only people that got arrested from that whole debacle were in Iceland.
But remember that most of the money, and that was because of the UK-Iceland political spat, if you like. Yeah, it wasn't quite related to the actual fraud that took place in 2008, but or the years preceding 2008. So I think the blockchain it's an amazing technology which will allow every human being on the planet financial inclusion and will allow entrepreneurs equitable access to market economies.
So talk a little bit about the problems that you've been dealing with Confidio, because Confidio it started off as a specific solution to a problem, and it grew very, very fast. I mean, you've got a large team here working on a number of different problems and aspects and components for enterprise blockchain solutions. You're actually deploying an enterprise blockchain solution. So how do you see Confidio's role in this evolving ecosystem?
So the idea that I had at the beginning, I mean, when I was the global COO of Deutsche Bank with information services and analytics, one of the large projects that I had to manage was a very large outsourcing project between IBM, providing services to the retail bank and the investment bank of Deutsche Bank globally. This was a $3 billion contract, and it was an incredibly expensive project to run, and an even more opaque project to manage. And this experience, I basically took away a whole lot of the real core problems, very expensive problems. And the idea, when I first came across the blockchain, I thought, well, this is the perfect type of problem to solve. It's complex. It's a problem of contractual relationships between multiple parties. And it is the contracts all have a legal basis. And at the end of the day, there's an invoicing and reconciliation that needs to take place. And all of these functionalities is offered by this fantastic new technology called the blockchain. And so we started out developing this solution. We were quite fortunate in that we had one of the Fortune 50 pharmaceutical companies who had very similar problems with one of their large projects, and we started a proof of concept with them. And this proof of concept was around 50,000 contract items. Each contract item had, I think, between 3 and 4 service levels: bronze, gold, silver, and platinum. Or most of them had 3 actually. And these services were delivered across 140 countries with over 700 legal entities. So really a super massive complex problem. And we started out by trying to solve this. What we discovered was that a number of the other blockchain players, for example, database players or smart contract developers or engineering solutions, they just were not delivering the solutions that they had marketed. So in addition to starting the business, we then found we had to start developing engineering solutions. So we started an engineering division. We had to start developing smart contracts that had legal clauses and fairly complex business logic. So I developed my own smart contract unit. Because the people who we were outsourcing to were not capable of doing this. They were mainly doing ERC20 tokens. We haven't done a single ERC20 token. So the global pharmaceutical company that we work for, this particular solution is 55 smart contracts. And not a single one of the smart contracts is an ERC20 smart contract. They're all fairly large, complex smart contracts with legal clauses in them. We then needed to have a management dashboard. We needed to be able to read from the blockchain, our blockchain that we developed.
And you developed your own blockchain for this, correct?
It's based on Ethereum and Quorum. So you could say it's our own blockchain, but mostly it's based on Ethereum and Quorum.
Do you run your own nodes? Or?
We run our own nodes.
And is it private or is it public?
It has the possibility of, so if it's private, we'd run it on our own nodes, and we have the possibility to then convert it to a public chain running on Ethereum.
So other people could theoretically in the future run
in the future, that's the way we're going. Currently, public blockchains simply are not capable of running complex smart contracts with extensive business logic and legal clauses. It's just currently not scalable or stable enough. And so what we then did in developing this, we had to develop all of these different types of solutions. We had to develop our own AI and data science solutions. Because most of the AI and blockchain solution providers we discovered were PowerPoint marketing. So we did all of this and we had a fairly successful MVP. We then deployed the MVP and had a fairly successful deployable MVP. We then needed to start thinking about what other types of blockchain protocols could we run this on. So we had to start developing the expertise of technically examining other blockchains. So we examined the NEM, we examined Neo, Cardano, etc. And we published fairly extensive reports into IOTA, into Tron. And then, quite by accident, we discovered that people started contacting us and asking us to do research for them into protocols. And I figured, well, we're doing that research for ourselves anyway, why not monetize it? And so as a result, we ended up with a fairly large research division, including researching some of the scams in the ICO space that had developed.
Did you identify any?
We identified a few, yeah. We identified a few. So I think, and based on that, I think we've developed a fairly good reputation amongst investors because we are fairly content-based in the work that we do. And then a number of people started asking us to manage their money in crypto. And I said, hey, this is not what we had planned to do at all. And then the crypto downturn started, and we realized it wasn't that easy to make money as it had been in the past. I think in the past, any idiot with a few $1,000 could make quite a lot of money. The crypto winter has been a really sobering experience because we realized we really had to examine technical analysis, trends, understand which protocols were working, which coins were working, etc. We then went ahead and applied for a license for our own crypto fund. And now I understand that we are the first licensed EU fund.
It's based out of
Malta.
Congratulations for getting that, by the way.
Yeah, that was thank you. It was a hard piece of work because if you think about it, we made the call in March of 2018 that ICOs in their current form and all the scams related to ICOs would mean that ICOs would die fairly quickly. And so we concentrated really on security tokens. And that's largely turned out to have been proven correct. And that's part of the reason I think now we're supporting quite a few STOs. And so, as I said, we have this large product business, which is pretty successful. We've got chains at a global pharma company. We've got a private permission chain at a energy retailer, which is live. So we're not talking about MVPs or deployable. We're talking about live blockchains in production.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm quite proud of that. I think the team has really done a fantastic piece of work, and we've got them out there. And then we discovered that we're up to now, let me not say we're the only ones globally, but up to now, as of today, I don't know of a single other project that is running a blockchain in production with real live transactions going through it. In business logic, I think
there definitely aren't many.
Yeah, I think the financial transactions, that's simple, but complex business logic with legal clauses, I don't know of any others. And so as you see, this sort of Confidio with its multiple ventures, and it's almost like an investment portfolio company. We developed more out of necessity than anything else, because what we discovered is that when we put a team together and gave that team purpose, we were more likely to be successful than other people just concentrating on that initial area. A lot of the VCs were extremely skeptical about this about a year and a half ago, and I think quite frankly we've proven them wrong, because while all those single-focused founder teams have gone out of business or fallen by the wayside, we are actually still going strong and growing.
How do you keep track of so many diverse projects?
With a good portfolio management approach and a good program management approach, it's actually fairly simple. And I think people who've been in large consulting companies, who've managed large projects, understand that that's completely. It's actually not that complex to do. I mean, one of the largest projects I ever managed, one of the largest programs I ever managed, was the implementation of Toll Collect.
Mm-hmm.
It was I think a 5 billion euro contract which put tolls all around Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a massively complex project. That had, I think, about 35 sub-projects at any given time. So we have 12.
Okay, so it's past experience and good process.
I think good process and disciplined process helps. We have a software development process. We have a strategic business model process. And at the beginning, when I started this, a lot of people said I'm turning this into a massive consulting company. Yeah. And I was, if I wanted to do something this complex, we only have 35 people. Considering all the work that we're doing, it's actually not a lot. And I think we are because of the disciplined processes that we have, I think we're doing quite well.
Now, you've been focusing on STOs with your investment fund, investment arm. What do you see as sort of the state of the STO market? Like for me, it feels like everyone is talking about it being sort of the thing of 2019 that's going to bring crypto back into the public eye, but I don't think that we've hit the peak hype of the market yet. I don't know. What's your thought of the state of the market?
I mean, we made the decision last year that a security token would be the best way to move forward in the crypto space, because ICOs were they'd become really. I mean, blockchain ICOs have become synonymous with fraud, with investor fraud and scams, and that's really a tragedy. But STOs have a major advantage in that in STO you're not pretending not to be a security. You're very clear you are security. You are very clear that investors want to make money out of that security, and therefore you have to provide investor protection. You have to provide transparency. You have to provide full disclosure. The money coming into your STO has to be AML and KYC'd. And therefore, you have a real chance to really disintermediate IPOs. That I think is accelerated with the ERC 1400 protocol, for example, where you've got very clear investor protections, very clear document management, very clear ML KYC. There are some problems with STOs in that the law requires you. When you transfer an STO to someone else, that person is already AML, has gone through anti-money laundering, and you know your customer, you know your client. Those transfers have got to take place and be notarized. That's a real problem at the moment in the crypto space.
Absolutely. I mean, it sort of undermines the whole beauty of having everything tokenized.
Yeah. But I am convinced that technologically there'll be a solution within the next 12 months. And I think we've already started on the way to that. We've already designed a possible solution. How you do that, how the governance is applied, and I think you were part of the STO working group. We put together an STO working group around 2 months ago.
Yeah, it was a little while ago.
Yeah. And part of that was how to work that out. How can we use the blockchain to help founders raise capital in a way that is fully compliant with the law and offers investors protection? I think that's the simplest way I can think of what the grand role of the STO would be in the future. One of the key problems is the secondary market. And the fact that the liquidity in the secondary market is not there, and we're quite proud. We are helping Bitbond. Yep. Bitbond is the first STO in Germany approved by BaFin. Full protection for full investor disclosure, and I think that's going to be the beginning of something. It's always great that we are involved in the first one.
Yeah.
So it's a learning experience. I mean, that's a fantastic thing about the blockchain space. Not a day goes by when you don't learn something new.
That's true. Radoslav was actually on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was actually one of the first people who was ever on the show. One of the first people I met in the blockchain space. No, it's good, but it also brings about the question of what is the future of blockchain? Are we going to be moving further away from the original vision of Satoshi, of the decentralized, disintermediated group, or are we going to see more and more corporate control of blockchain projects? And is that necessarily a bad thing?
That's actually a brilliant question, and it's one of the questions that I think about quite a lot, because I mean, our culture, the way we've all grown up, we seem to love this idea of the singular hero.
Yeah.
And it fits perfectly into the centralized worldview. I think in a decentralized worldview, I mean, Satoshi was absolutely brilliant, and the white paper into Bitcoin could not have arrived at a better time. It arrived just after Lehman Brothers had collapsed, where confidence in the financial system was at its lowest and has not been fully restored, and justifiably so. And at that time, we thought a lot about the so-called maximalism of the blockchain. One blockchain to rule them all. And just so happened it came out at the time of the Tolkien movies as well. And I think now we've moved on. We realize that there are going to be multiple blockchains. Some of them private, some of them permissioned, some of them public, some of them so not permissioned. And I think there are still some Bitcoiners who cling to this idea of Bitcoin maximalism, driven by, in my view, some of the idiots in the space. And I use the word completely explicitly. It was not a mistake. Now, what is that future going to look like? I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. I think the future at the moment of the blockchain is something that all of us will develop. What I do know is that the concept of a decentralized economy or decentralized microeconomy with full transparency amongst all its participants cannot be put back into the box. It's already out there. So we are only going to see developments on that theme. So that I'm 100% sure of. So do I think cryptocurrencies will increase in the future and become and increase exponentially in value? I'm 100% sure of that. I just don't know which cryptocurrencies those will be. Bitcoin might disappear and another one might come up out of the blue. I don't know. The other question you asked, which I think is a philosophically and politically one that bothers me, or at least keeps me thinking a lot more, is currently corporates are taking over the blockchain space.
It's back to the question of vulture capitalism.
Right. Will they be able to use the blockchain to further entrench their positions? That's a real danger. However, that's a real danger in the worst of all possible worlds. In the best of all possible worlds, I think that the technology is open source, it's out there. Any kid with a smartphone and a notebook can develop a protocol, develop a cryptocurrency, develop a business model. I don't think that
any kid with a notebook, a smartphone, and a PhD can.
And hang on, we've had a lot of kids coming in here.
Really?
Who actually they're still in school. In fact, we had one of them who was here now. He did an internship with us. He was in grade 11.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually rather impressive.
Yeah, and so I don't think that's I think that will happen more and more. But And the idea of creating a decentralized platform economy is not going to go away. I think it's going to start with people like coffee farmers. It's going to start with orange farmers. I mean, as you came into the office, you've got 20 kilograms of oranges from a crowdfunding platform, and it's a decentralized platform.
Really?
Yeah. So instead of going through a centralized market, the farmers in Spain are selling directly to people.
Decentral orange.
Yeah. So I think that these ideas, are they going to be profitable? Are they going to make people billionaires? No. But are they going to spread the value of an economy more evenly? Definitely. So I think some corporates are going to get some blockchain stuff right and be very good about it. But in doing so, they're going to cannibalize their existing rent-seeking marketplaces.
Well, we can only hope for a brighter future of tomorrow, and one that's a little more equal. And it'll come about, I think you're right, if we work toward it and if the vision remains in place.
Yeah.
Mervyn, thank you for taking the time with me. Dr. Mervyn Maistry is the founder and CEO of Confidio. And all the best going forward, and with your multifaceted, multi-project platform.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.